Greetings, everybody. Today is Friday, and we continue with our Psalms, and we're looking at Psalm 107 today. And this is an interesting one because the psalmist talks about different types of people. And so just listen carefully to what he says. It's a long one, so I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I'll read to verse 28, which is long enough. But just listen to what he says. It says, "Oh, give thanks to the Lord, for he is good, for his steadfast love endures forever. Let the redeemed of the Lord say so, whom he has redeemed from trouble and gathered in from the lands, from the east and from the west, from the north and from the south." And then he begins to talk about these people. Some, he says, wandered in desert wastes, finding no way to a city to dwell in, hungry and thirsty. Their soul fainted within them. Then they cried to the Lord in their trouble, and he delivered them from their distress. He led them by a straight way till until they reached a city to dwell in. Let them thank the Lord for his steadfast love, for his wondrous works to the children of man. For he satisfies the longing soul, and the hungry soul he fills with good things. Some sat in darkness and in the shadow of death, prisoners in affliction and in irons, for they had rebelled against the words of God and spurned the counsel of the Most High. So he bowed their hearts down with hard labor. They fell down with none to help. Then they cried to the Lord in their trouble, and he delivered them from their distress. He brought them out of darkness and the shadow of death, and burst their bonds apart. Let them thank the Lord for his steadfast love, for his wondrous works to the children of man. For he shatters the doors of bronze and cuts in two the bars of iron. Some, he says, were fools through their sinful ways, and because of their iniquities suffered affliction. They loathed any kind of food, and they drew near to the gates of death. Then they cried to the Lord in their trouble, and he delivered them from their distress. He sent out his word and healed them. He delivered them from their destruction. Let them thank the Lord for his steadfast love, for his wondrous works to the children of man, and let them offer a sacrifice of thanksgiving and tell of the deeds of the saints in songs of joy. And then lastly, he says, some went down to the sea in ships, doing business in the great waters. They saw the deeds of the Lord, his wondrous works in the deep. For he commanded and raised the stormy wind, which lifted up the waves from the sea. They mounted up to the heaven. They went down to the depths. Their courage melted away from their evil plight. They reeled and staggered like drunken men and were at their wits' end. Then they cried to the Lord in their trouble, and he delivered them from their distress. He made the storm be still, and the waves of the sea were hushed. Then they were glad that the waters were quiet, and he brought them to their desired haven. Let them thank the Lord for his steadfast love, for his wondrous works to the children of man. Let them extol him in the congregation of the people, and praise him in the assembly of the elders. Did you catch a theme here? He's talking about some of these different things that were happening to different people, but the same verbiage is used in all four of those scenarios. They cried to the Lord in their trouble, and he delivered them from their distress. And when he delivered them from their stress, they sang a song of thanksgiving for his steadfast love. I find it very interesting that it comes in a time like this. The first group of people were kind of wandering with no purpose. The second group of people were sort of in spiritual darkness. The third group of people were dealing with their sinfulness and their pride. The fourth group were dealing with just fear of what was happening in their environment on the sea. And in each case, they cried to the Lord in their trouble. And in each case, he delivered them from their distress. What a great word for us today. Whether it's we're walking around with no purpose, or in spiritual darkness, or in the pridefulness of our sinfulness, or in fear of what might happen to our lives and to us, our families, the world, our culture, whatever it is, we can cry to the Lord in our trouble, and he will deliver us from our distress. What a great word for today. What a great word to end the week as we go into the weekend, and we hope that on May 8th, all of this will be lifted, or a portion of it anyway, so that we can get a semblance of what getting back to the way things were looks like. But in the midst of all of that, if you have any of these, the one thing is constant. We can cry to the Lord in our troubles, and he will deliver us from our distress. That's his promise. And so I pray that that gets you through the weekend, and may God's blessings be upon you, and be a blessing to whoever you come across that needs it. And we'll see you on the back end of the weekend, and look forward to Monday. Great day.